Alright, well I got some more work done and I didn't record it just because I wanted to get the work done. And sometimes when you're filming, it just you lose your train of thought. You keep stopping and starting. And I'm still kind of new to the lathe, Bridgeport, whittling stuff out, and just needed to kind of get in the zone, and I did. And as you can see, we got the bushings kind of made up for the top and for the bottom, so that the wheel can be center. And I can start working off my brake setup off of that, so that everything kind of flopping around. So all that's kind of stiffened up and looking pretty in my opinion. And now I kind of want to continue on with building what to do for the brakes. And I've had a couple of different thoughts about it. One of the screw ups that I had was I was thinking that I originally had the belt mounted here, going around and going up, and when I put the wheel through its motion, the slack created on one side was equal to the tension that was being created on the other side, so it kind of balanced itself out. So as it went through the suspension, it wasn't pulling or dragging, giving tension, relaxing throughout the range of motion. So, and then I started thinking, and that's when this was, let's see if we can get it, was mounted up to there. I'm like, yeah, that'll work out fine. Then I thought, well, I could just run that all the way up to the handlebars. I can't do that because this is under constant movement and the handlebars are staying still. So I have to kind of go back pedal and come up with some other kind of setup. I'm basically stepping back, probably mounting off of this front leg, going around, and then tying into the axle, the fork, and you know, having some pivots come up to the front. So I was in Home Depot and I really wasn't planning. I stopped in Home Depot for something else, and what I ended up doing was, while I was there, I grabbed 3 different sizes of these collars that are used for hanging plumbing and conduit, I think. And they're metal and they got galvy on them. They make these in galvy, and they make them in copper. Copper, I was kind of wondering if it would be strong enough, but I could always go back and see how they do. But I wasn't quite sure what size all my tubes and my handlebars and stuff were, so I just grabbed 2 of each size for now, and I'll return when I'm not using. So it kind of gives me something to go mount on, and they in turn take a you know, a bolt or threaded rod or whatever, some kind of point that we can kind of come out of there and mount something on. So I don't know where it's going yet, but I figured I just need something to wrap around the fork and then build off of that, and I figure this can be it. If not, I'll build something else, and then whatever's left goes into the pile of back to Home Depot-ish stuff, and then at some point I just kind of return them for that one because there's more. So I'm gonna go look for brake levers right now. All right, we're walking through my hoard, and over the summertime I picked up a bike that had like the big cantilever levers on them, and I had those in mind. I believe it's this guy right here. Not quite sure how strong they are, but you see how it's got those that pivot and then the knuckle that goes down to the front wheel. I don't know if you can or not, but you see it's got that rod that goes up and then it goes to these levers here. So I was thinking something along that line I might be able to use. So let me dig into that pile. We'll get that bike out of there and see what we can use from it. Okay, that right there is a manly sort of bike, isn't it? So I think it is like I don't remember when I looked it up, Dutch, around that kind of deal. It's a knockoff, I think, of an earlier bike, as you can tell by the plastic pedals and stuff that are on it. But I kind of liked all that linkage that was set up on that. And I was wondering what we can kind of go steel, and it's adjustable. You can tweak them, and it's got front and rear setups with all mechanical rods running back to everywhere. So I was kind of thinking one of them would be good for maybe the throttle, and the other one would be good for the front brake. Don't know. And the other thing I like on this too is that kickstand. That's kind of what an early setup would look like. So we may go borrow that permanently for the back of the bike too, or at least use that for a base or to copy off how that old stuff works. But it looks actually fairly stout. I actually kind of like the fact they use the standard bolt on the wheel, and then this whole clevis just attaches to the rear of the frame. And it's spring loaded. You don't have to grab the back fender like I did on the board tracker. So this could be a very good sacrificial lamb for us. And again, it's got some kind of cool stuff on it. Again, it looks like they got away from cables and everything. It's just you know, rods that are connecting everything. Makes it a little bit more beefy. It's got a lock up here. Locks the wheel. It's got a key. It's even got a key. Look at that. Out of my way. Coming through. Alright, so let me do some deciphering and get this bike up in the air. We'll kind of look at the front end on this and see if any of that stuff is applicable. And if not, maybe we can copy off of that for that same idea for this one. Alright, so I cut into it and took one side of it off. And I thought this was going to be threaded or had like nuts welded on the backside. No, they got like, you know, cap something back there, half rounds. And they're just floating back there. Now, how you're going to get those in there and lined up must be a bitch. You have to feed it through the handlebars, you know. Anyway, so other than that, I took the lever off and a couple of the linkage pivot points, and that's what you would have, you know, something like that. And like that, you would mount it, and then you know you have a clevis on the end of it. But here's my problem: the way I designed the handlebars is very round, and you need like 2 points to kind of come off of, and like, is it gonna mimic the handlebars? Not really. So I'm trying to come up with a solution that would work for that. And I think we're going to run into, if like, say, okay, you say, well, just bend it to match the handlebars, right? Or where are you going to say, if I want to mount it off of that one and come off with a lever, or that one, whatever, and just bend it to match the shape. Well, the problem is, those are, again, your 2 pivot points, you know, and you got it that way. And now this is bent. As soon as you go to turn it, these are going to have to kind of like rock, you know what I mean? It doesn't follow, it's not a linear action anymore. It's got, you threw another dimension in it. So that's where I am now. So the only other kind of idea that I'm thinking of is just kind of come off more like a conventional brake lever, you know, with a mount with a lever, and then kind of come off of that with some kind of linkage. Still don't know yet. So I am going to turn the camera back off. That's what I'm going to go do, and I'm going to go think about it a little bit, and maybe walk around the hood a little bit more, see if I could just find some kind of some beefy levers maybe I could start building off of, or I just maybe just start building my own. We'll see. Alright, so I played around with a bunch of different ideas, and the direction I'm kind of going with now is, instead of trying to make it all levers and rods and solid stuff kind of going down, I may go and soften it up a bit. So I didn't find anything hand grip wise or brake lever wise that I kind of liked that didn't look just too modern for me. And not that that kind of matters, but I got the long handlebar, so I want like some kind of long lever on it. Not, you know, you get a long grip and then a stupid little short lever on it. It's not going to look right. So I started thinking of the pliers that I wanted to use down below, if I use that up top for the actual lever. And my thought is, I need to be able to pull on an angle like this, so they can't be this way unless I put another pivot out here, which I can do. But my thought is, what if I was to take them and heat this part and bend it around so it kind of matches the handlebars, and then this part is still facing the right direction and pulling on it. Or I could stick the whole thing up there, now I'm talking about it, and do put a pivot, come around. So I stuck a couple of these guys on there to get an idea. There's one there, here's one here, and I just shoved a shoulder bolt in there just to see where it would wrap up, and you know, just try to get all my spots and positions and all that kind of stuff lined up. And I thought about bringing the leather all the way up and through those pivot points and into the grip, and then I decided, how about if I go to a bicycle chain, and we tried doing bicycle chain, and then you could take the master link, have that maybe go through the leather, drill a hole in it, and put the other side of the master link on it like you normally would, and have that come up, and possibly maybe another master link coming off the jaw here, and that's where it pulls from. So that's kind of the direction I'm going. Whether it stays that way, I don't know, but that's what I've kind of come up with now. So I'm just kind of starting to fab some of that stuff up. I figure I'll drill a hole in the leather, and I'll just lay the chain there, and we'll kind of get an idea. I'm going to need something coming out of these that encapsulates the chain, but still allows it to slide through. So that would be my next mission or goal or guess to go and try to figure out. So let me go a little further. I'm going to again say mount that chain to the end of the leather and look at it some more and see how it is to make the bend and make the turn, you know. Well, I thought I had a eureka moment, but I came close anyway. My thought was, what if I was to take this real big chain and make these the guides, like, you know, take one link out and basically weld a bolt to them some fashion, and let the other chain roll through that. Looks like it would work, doesn't it? Problem is, it just misses size-wise, both directions. You can't even turn it sideways and have it fit. I'm not gonna be able to do this one-handed. I wish my camera was a left-handed camera, not a right-handed camera. Anyway, so it kinda, almost. I mean, you can see daylight. One thought was I can kind of grind down the bumps on each side of it to give it a little bit of room to go through there. But my other thought is, what if I was to slice off just this one barrel, leave this barrel on there, and you know, make this the mounting surface, and then basically it's got a cam follower on the front. This is a chain for machinery in, it was in the scrapyard is where I got it, for running restaurant, not restaurant, commercial cooking and manufacturing. So it's a stainless chain, and it's got a lot of flex in it too. If you snake it out, it's able to make turns, you know, a lot easier than a regular chain is. Not that we're going to use it in that capacity, but so I don't know. I think I'm going to keep picking away on that idea, or at least what we're going to do is we can go cut one of these off, and we'll see how it kind of allows us to do what we just talked about. So let me try. All right, so I kept going on with that, and I took a piece of threaded rod, and I just got a wing nut on there right now just to hold it in place. And then I just took the cap, and I cut the cap off of each one, the roller off of each one on this one, and chipped that off of there. And then of course that one now fits through there. There's not much of a direction change on that, but I still may revisit this. I have a feeling I may do something like I did up top. I'll show you in a second. But that's decent. It allows it to go track through, and it's round on both sides, so the chain doesn't want to kind of get bound up on it. And I wanted to use this to steer, you know, coming from the bottom, and steer it so it's on a straight line, and then it can kind of come off on an angle to. At first I was going to go up to here, and I said, well, why do I need to even bother with that? Why don't we just go right to the handlebar? So we got the one that's mounted up there. I figured that one would be perfect for changing the direction going up to there. And what I decided to do on this one was I just punched out the top altogether and then put the pin back in it, so it's got the full roller still underneath, so that one still rolls. Put the pin back in, and I just welded the stud right to the center of that, and that one, you know, now kind of swivels. And of course I could change the height and direction of it by expanding and lengthening or shrinking the length of the threads on here. And then again, this will be a nut, so I can kind of rotate it where I want, lock it down, and again it pivots this way, so it's pretty much got movement all directions. Not that the chain does. The chain's only got, you know, the bicycle chains kind of twist a little slowly over time. You can get a twist on them, but you know, you can't if you go to rack it. You know, it takes some distance to be able to do that. So not that that matters too much, because it just has to come to right here, whatever my pivot situation is going to be. I figure I can kind of go right to that. So I think using the chain makes a nice different visual than just a plain old cable. It's still something different. And I think when you let go of it too, I think the curve will probably match the handlebars up top. You know, you pull it and it relaxes, pull it and then it relaxes. So I think that actually might look fairly decent too, as far as trying to keep some symmetry to it. But I figure I'll pop it in the stand, and I want to do a little test. I wanted to see how well that will stop the front wheel and track and not track. Let's see, what can you see? It's like enough to me. So in the relaxed position, it's rubbing on the tire right here, but you know, then you give it a tug. I wanted to kind of see if, like, how much energy it's really going to take to work the front brakes. And it actually seems like that's a pretty good, I'm not really pulling on, I'm probably giving it 10 pounds. And that seems like it's pretty good. And I think after it kind of wears in, I have a feeling it's even going to bite better, you know, as the leather kind of seats itself to this. And if I find that I still need more, I can always sandblast this section or cuff this up. Right now it's polished. So I got vice grip holding it up there just to kind of clamp it together, and what that's causing it to lean to one side because of the weight that's hanging. Yeah, it's leaning to one side, but I'm thinking straight up and down. And I actually kind of like coming up to here. I think that might be look kind of cool instead of trying to have a stud sticking out of this. So if we can draw that as a straight line, let it go past the tire and let it go up, I think that'll look pretty good. And just let it swing right around the top bushing there. So I think the next thing I'm going to move forward with is, again, trying to go make the lever now. Maybe try to come up with something for up there. And I could always come back and turn these into the copper ones if I feel that the energy that they're going to take is not going to be too strong. And I don't think it will be, but we can worry about that later. They're cheap enough. They're under $2 a piece. And I'll throw these in my junk drawer for future builds. It's great for mocking stuff up, you know. So, all right, let me continue on, and let's go come up with some kind of something right there for a lever. I'll have to see if I can get that jaw to bend some, and I'll bend the handle the other direction. But I think I'd start with that. Oh yeah, it's like butter. I have to move it up out of the vise a little bit. I want to make it, I don't want to screw up the ratchet part of it though, you know. Yeah. I gotta come up higher. The vise is trying to steal too much heat from down below. But I'll keep whittling on that. Alright, I got a preliminary setup, I think. Everything's just kind of tacked. And I still need to complete the handle, but what I ended up doing was I bent the jaw one way, and then I took the handle itself and kicked it kind of way down, so that there is more leverage. Actually, it's not really more leverage, it's more, it pulls more, more stroke is what we have, and less power, more stroke. So by kicking it on a 90 instead of, you know, I think before it was probably, you know, that handle was off like that, I would have had to tilt it so far out. It probably would have moved a ½ inch here and moved, you know, 3 inches on the handle, where now where I have it set up, it's probably got about an inch draw and then 1.5 inches, you know, moving on the handle. But this still needs to get cut off, and I think what I'll do is I'll heat it up and I'll bend it and I'll make it be the stop for this handle. But you can kind of see the motion that we're getting. Pulling. Down to that one for a guide. And yeah, the wheel's still somewhat free. I think I got a little on the taut side, a little bit. So it does not have as much power as it needs yet. But again, I had two things I could do. One is roughen this surface up so it has more tooth, and the other is put belt dressing on the leather belt. But I think I'll be good. And worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario, if I have to, I'll get rid of the leather and I'll cut up a serpentine belt and we'll wrap that around it, and that'll have more than enough. But one thing I do like is I'm watching it, and the front end's kind of loose. I can push it up, down, and let me see, about an inch. See if I can do this one-handed. But if you notice, you know what it is, I can't get far enough away. I got to use the stand. What I was talking about with the travel, that whatever the one side does, the other side picks up from, so that the tension never changes on the front end. Here, now I can do it. So whatever this is going up, the back is doing the opposite. So if you notice, this chain never wants to pull at all. It just kind of stays there, which is what I was looking for. So as the front end is going through over bumps and whatnot, when I go to apply the brakes, it's not going to matter. It canceled each other out, and that was probably my biggest hurdle, was trying to figure that part of it out. So now I'm just trying to figure out if I like the look of it or not. Yeah, the other thing I could probably even do too is just go with a leather belt, continue. And it's got some adjustment to it too, because I could take these guys and, you know, if this is too loose, I can just slide this point in a little further, or I could run it up in the threads, or cut a little bit of threads off and run it up a little bit further. So it is fairly adjustable. And I like the way the grip kind of, you know, figure there's going to be a hand grip here, and this kind of will tuck around where that hand grip is, and you'll still be able to look at that and say, you know, that's a wrench of some sort. So like that. So I think what we're going to go do now is probably mark that with a Sharpie and try to bend that, get that so it lines up with that guy again. Probably what I'll do is I'll cut it here. Hard to say. I got to bend and cut these two so that they line up, but which one I want to do first, because you don't want to cut so much of this off, you don't have any leverage to kind of bend it when it's hot. So I guess I'll figure that out in a minute now, won't I? But that's I would say is the next step. This guy can come off of here, we don't need it. The only, well, I don't know. I might be able to go put that guy here. The only thing I can see being an issue is this one gets side loaded a lot. You know, it really wants to pull. Copper ones, I would say that one would be okay. And this one's fine. There's no real load on this one at all. This one, I don't know. Other thing is too, I could probably shorten it up. So there's, you know, this will be a nut, not a wing nut, to lock it where the direction I want to point it. And say if I bring this up to here, then you're only talking, you know, that much that you're trying to yank on. So yeah. Actually, it doesn't seem like it's moving much at all. Maybe a non-issue. So we'll see. But again, I'm gonna go and fine-tune that guy now that I'm kind of happy with what we're gonna do here, and continue on. I like it. Alright, so I released the tie wraps a little bit too, so I can kind of swing the front end from left to right. I wanted to see how my clearance was with the shifter and the gas tank and all that kind of stuff. But I cut that lever off of there, and then kind of, I said, like, heated it up and bent it. And it's kind of crudely ground where the two of them meet now, but I can fine-tune that a little bit more. But not quite sure how much movement I want in this. You know, the more that I increase this, the further this distance gets. So that might be fine right there, who knows. And I think what's kind of happening is, the reason why I'm not getting all the power is that it gets up to a certain level, and then if you look at it, the leather does have some stretch to it. So if I do back that with brass or copper, like a band brake, and, you know, come around and probably glue it to the back side of it, that'll, and then, you know, have it also included up in here so that it's, you know, basically pulling on the metal more than the cloth or the leather, that it will get rid of that that stretchiness to it. But I'm still working on proof of concept, I guess we're going to call it. But we look pretty good. And it looks like it should clear everything just fine. That's more than I plan on it, you know, cranking. That's, I'm not going to be making much more of a sharper turn than that, you know. So, and this still can swing out too. I can loosen these up and kick them out and away a little bit if I have to. I like it. I think after you get a hand grip on there and it kind of like kicks around the hand grip, and you look at it and you'll be like, yeah, that looks like, is that what I think it is? Kind of deal, you know? I like that. I'm doing it more for the artistic part of it than it is the function, although function is part of it too, you know? I'm trying to make something that you haven't seen before, you know? So, am I succeeding? So I think I'm going to go kind of wrap it up for tonight, and do some thinking. Maybe I kind of like to maybe even do the same kind of thing maybe with throttle. I might do a lever throttle, and we'll just kind of do a mirror image maybe on this side, and we'll come down from the other end. And maybe instead of chain, I'll go with, like bike chain, I can go with something different, or I may even go with bike chain. It all depends on what I'm concerned about for the symmetry of it or not, you know. Not that that's that important. And the other thing is too, I think I want to shorten this guy up a lot more so that when you're looking at this line from the side, it doesn't grow as much as that. I think if I, you know, bring it into here and then down and around, it'll make more of maybe an appealing look to it, and you know, also it'll tuck itself, you know, further. Not that it's in the way really now. But we'll see. Still got to draw a fender and stuff in there yet, so you can imagine it with that. I'm getting eggs as a fender laying on the back now, try to get an idea. I'll fill in that space, and then of course, you know, the stand will be on the back going down, and then I'm thinking actually I may put a rack of some sort, but it may be like pitchforky kind of something, you know, kind of going with the same theme as the seat, and the seat still has to get cut down and all, but again, I'm not doing that until the end or near the end, after all my other lines are drawn in, you know. I don't want to it's hard to put it back on after you cut it off, you know. So alright guys, well, I'm going to go wrap it up. Again, everybody, thanks for watching and commenting and subscribing and following me along on my little projects. Look who's hiding in the corner. I'll snug away for the winter time. The only one that doesn't have to plug in to keep its battery going.